I had just moved into my new home, a cozy two-story ranch-style house nestled at the edge of a peaceful wooded area. After years of saving, stress, and renting places where I couldn't so much as hang a wind chime without asking permission, I had finally found what I considered freedom: no landlord, no rent, and most importantly, no HOA. I was clear on that point. During the home buying process, I went through every document with a fine-tooth comb. I explicitly avoided any neighborhood that had a homeowners association. I'd heard horror stories about power-hungry board members, fines for having the wrong type of grass, and even people being sued for flying flags. I wanted no part of that. Life was peaceful for the first few weeks. My dog was happy. I was barbecuing every weekend, getting to know the land. That peace, however, was about to be shattered. It started with a knock on my door early Saturday morning. A woman stood outside, clipboard in hand, lips pursed tightly as if even smiling would be against the rules. "Greater than hello, I'm Karen, president of the Hillside HOA," she announced proudly. "You need to remove the lights hanging on your porch. They aren't HOA approved." I blinked. "Sorry, you must be mistaken. I'm not part of any HOA." She gave me a practiced, fake smile laugh. "Greater than O, I think you are. We expanded last year. You're part of the Hillside community now. The HOA guidelines clearly state that porch lighting must be amber only, and yours are white." I was stunned. Greater than I never signed anything. I was told this property isn't under any HOA. She smirked again. "Greater than we have the authority to expand into surrounding properties when needed for aesthetic cohesion. It's in our charter." That term alone, aesthetic cohesion, sent chills down my spine. She handed me a paper with a list of so-called violations: unapproved paint color on the shed, yard not uniform with others, and my personal favorite unauthorized, vegetable gardening. I thought she was bluffing, and so I did what most rational people would do. I ignored it. 2 days later, I received a formal notice of violation with a demand for $975 in fines. And just like that, I was in her crosshairs. I wasn't about to hand over nearly $1,000 to someone who had no legal right to demand it. I went into full research mode. I pulled the property records from the county clerk's office, scanned zoning maps, looked into HOA laws for the state. My property fell outside the HOA's jurisdiction by a long shot. The so-called expansion they claimed was never legally recorded, voted on, or filed with the city. Karen wasn't just wrong, she was completely fabricating authority. But the real kicker came a week later. I received a small claims court notice. Karen was suing me for the $1,130 for unpaid fines, HOA membership back dues, and legal processing fees. She listed herself as the plaintiff and HOA president. I was furious but calm, because now I had her. Court was scheduled for the following Monday. Karen arrived dressed like a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, clipboard in hand again, with a smug smile that could curdle milk. She had 2 other HOA board members with her, likely there just for moral support. I stood alone, but not unarmed. The judge called us in. Karen launched into a dramatic speech about community standards, the importance of regulation, and how I was a rogue neighbor threatening their peaceful society. "Greater than your honor," she said confidently. "We voted last year to expand our HOA to the surrounding properties. We even notified the new owners by mail. He's just being uncooperative." The judge looked mildly confused. "Greater than, do you have legal documentation of this expansion?" She handed over a few typed pages, none of which were stamped, notarized, or filed with the city. I took my turn, calmly presenting my property deed, showing no HOA encumbrance, county zoning maps, highlighting the clear HOA boundaries nowhere near my lot, a letter from the county zoning board, confirming the HOA had no legal authority over my land, a printed email chain from the state's HOA regulation office stating clearly that unilateral HOA expansion without owner consent or official city registration is invalid under state law. The judge barely looked up from the paperwork before turning to Karen. "Ma'am, you have no legal jurisdiction over the defendant's property. All fines and fees are unenforceable. This case is dismissed. Greater than Karen stammered, "But Your Honor, this threatens our HOAS structure." The judge didn't even flinch. "Then your structure was built on a lie." It took less than 3 minutes for her whole case to collapse. I walked out of that courtroom free. But more importantly, ready to go on the offense. Most people would have stopped there. But I had learned something about Karen. She wasn't going to let this go. She had already shown she would bend reality to get what she wanted. And if she had done this to me, she'd likely done it to others too. So I started talking to neighbors, especially those who lived near the border of her HOA zone. That's when the stories started pouring in. A single mother 2 blocks down was fined $1, $200 for painting her mailbox to vibrant. An elderly veteran was billed monthly HOA dues he didn't owe for 5 years. A couple had moved out entirely after being dragged to mediation over a doghouse. None of these people had ever signed into the HOA. Karen had bullied them into compliance. I gathered every story, every document, every unfair fine. I compiled a report and submitted it directly to the State Attorney General's office, the Department of Housing, and the HOA Oversight Committee. Within a month, Karen's HOA was under formal investigation for fraud, harassment, and unlawful collection practices. The results were explosive. The HOA was ordered to cease all enforcement actions. All fines issued in the past 3 years were declared invalid. Karen was charged with civil fraud and later found personally liable for over $35,000 in unlawful fines collected from homeowners. But karma wasn't done yet, because here's the poetic part. During the legal investigation, a detail emerged that left even the investigators stunned. Karen's own house was outside the HOA boundaries. She had been president of an HOA she technically wasn't even a member of. The entire association collapsed. Residents held a vote and dissolved the HOA permanently. Karen was removed from any future housing, board eligibility, and publicly reprimanded in court. As for me, I kept gardening. Added even more porch lights, blue, red, green, just for fun. I even installed a neon sign that read, "No HOA zone, protected by freedom and facts." One of my neighbors brought me a cake that said, "Thank you for ending her reign." The peace I once had was not only restored, it was multiplied. Sometimes bullies wear suits and carry clipboards. They'll try to intimidate, to bluff, and to scare you into submission. But truth, preparation, and a little courage can dismantle their illusion of power in minutes. Always know your rights and never let fear silence you. Justice doesn't always take years. Sometimes it takes just 3 minutes.